Welcome to the Assist Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, and joining me today is a very, very special guest. It is Catherine Gianni, my lovely girlfriend.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Katie?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm excited for this episode.
As well as I.
You keep asking me what we're talking about. You've asked me at least 10 times over the past day.
I wanted to be prepared.
Well, there's no preparation.
Yes, you told me nothing.
We're very astute Netflix watchers.
We don't have very many things going on in our lives.
No, especially during the summer. It's I feel like it's a common thing you do. You know, you're on your break.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna rattle off a couple things we watched, so people can hear. We're gonna start with a little review of some things we've watched, some new stuff.
All right.
When They See Us.
Oh. Yes.
5-star series.
That was incredible.
I watched the OJ trials for the first time.
That was about my 8th time watching it.
We've also watched some other things. You're a big fan of the glass blowing show. I don't know, what is that called?
It's called Blown Away.
Blown Away, where they are... It's kind of like an HGTV kind of thing where they have challenges, but it's a Netflix original, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very similar to Chopped, but if you're glowing glass instead of cooking.
That's right. Okay. What else have we watched?
We've been watching a soccer series called This Is Football.
This Is Football. It's on Amazon. You actually like it.
I do, because it's not overwhelmingly sports-oriented.
Yeah, it's more about the culture.
Stupid.
Oh.
But it's kind of the story around why it's such an important aspect of so many people's lives.
Yeah, so that we've seen episodes on Rwanda, Germany,
Japan.
and Japan. The women's team in Japan.
Yes.
So that's cool.
It was very cool.
So When They See Us.
Oof.
Would you like to lead?
Sure.
You discovered this.
So When They See Us is a show about the New York...
Central Park 5?
Central Park 5. And when I was watching it, it felt like it should be something we should have learned about growing up.
Yep.
Because it's very significant.
Yep.
So, long story short, a bunch of teenage kids that were 15 and under were all going out to Central Park in the middle of the night.
In New York.
In New York, because a bunch of their friends decided they should go see something. And it turns out a bunch of older people were jumping someone, and they quickly tried to run from the scene, because obviously that is criminal, and they were just supposed to be hanging out at the park. While this was happening, there was a couple streets down, there was a rape and attempted murder. So when the cops were called to the scene of the jumping, they connected the 5 young black boys that they caught in Central Park to the rape and attempted murder multiple streets over. So this led on to a bunch of forced interrogations where they made them say false confessions.
No lawyer or parents for underage people?
None of them were over 15. They were,
It
was 15 to 12, I want to say. And this just leads on to a big trial where all these kids are just fighting for their freedom. Mm-hmm. They were just getting accused of this terrible, terrible thing. And it's just a really tragic story, but it's all completely real. And I had no idea this was a thing until I saw the show. I didn't even think the show was based on real events until at the end of it said, based on true events. I was like, oh, yikes.
And it's really terrible because, they eventually get convicted. You can look this up, so we're not...
That's just a fact.
Yeah. And I think it was in between the second and third episode, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's the time jump of 15 years of them being in prison or whatever, depending on the kid. It was... And then finally, and of course they had to register as a sex offender and all this stuff, so they can't get jobs when they come out.
Yeah.
And eventually a DA, comes back and opens back up the case because another guy in prison admits to doing it, and everyone's like... I know the people from the police chief, there's racism as a theme throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. The police chief from the sex crimes unit or leader or something like that. I forgot what her official title was, but complete bitch.
She's awful.
And they ended up, she's like, No, we just missed one. That's what it was. We just missed the 6th one.
Yeah, she
And it's
couldn't
like-
admit that she just wrongfully
Was-
accused
Yeah, and imprisoned.
children. Mm-hmm. No, it was terrible.
But it's really encapsulating to watch.
Absolutely.
It's a 4-episode series, each about hour, 15, 20 minutes. So you up 5 hours total. Definitely recommend. That was insane.
Absolutely. It does get a bit political. They pull up old newspapers and old interviews on television with Donald Trump saying that he was trying to, and it was all real, which was kind of spooky, that he wanted to bring back the death penalty specifically for these boys.
Yep.
So they bring a bunch of old TV shows up. He's the only one I remember, but it does get political.
This was the early 90s, right? So he would have just been
believe
a
so.
billionaire at that point?
Mm-hmm. Because he was in the area.
Even then,
also
he was
New York.
outspoken.
Yeah.
Do you believe he wants to buy Greenland?
I'm not sure how he would go about doing that, but it's a very bold move that he got rejected by very quickly, right?
Yeah, I know that. I guess Greenland is owned by Denmark. And the prime minister, who is a female, I learned in the news report, shout out to women being prime ministers of countries. That's great. That's good progress for this world.
Yeah.
But like I saw the news. We were out to Menchie's the other day, and I randomly saw the news report that was just like Danish Prime Minister Trump is not getting Greenland or whatever. So my question is this. I know you've been with me for a lot of the past couple days, so you probably already heard this, me say this. But for the listeners.
For the listeners.
Are we just going to a market economy with land now? We used to invade, right? Everyone used to invade people.
Arguably better than that, but I just don't see it happening.
But it's like, I use California as a reference. So, if there's some analysis that's like, California's going to break off from this. It's like a sports trade. Think about it. It's like, okay,
We're not going to use this.
They're using like medical tests, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's production is going to go down in a year. We got to get rid of him." That happens. They're like, "We got to trade him now. His value's high."
Yeah.
So it's like California's going to break off from the country in 5 years. We need to sell now. Like, is that what we're going for?
It's like we're not missing out that much if we get rid of this part.
It's like, hey, Japan, remember when we rebuilt your country after we bombed the shit out of you like 100 years ago? Can you buy
payback.
Do you want to buy California from us? It's great. I mean, they've got legal weed. You got everything you could ever want.
All of the movie stars, take them, they're yours.
Especially if it's a Republican president. He's going to be like, I can lose 50 electoral Democrat votes against me?
I didn't even think about that. There you go.
When's the last time California voted red? Before they weren't a state?
Not a clue. Not a clue. This is a businessman at work.
It's like we're just start like every time we get a switch in the party president, they're gonna like Texas will be next. Democrat will sell off Texas
For
to
sale
Mexico.
by owner.
Texas would just declare independence. Actually,
didn't they try to do that already?
They were like an independent country at one point, and then they're like America's kind of like you guys should probably come with us, and I guess they're like all right.
Yeah, that's like the one kid in the house who doesn't want to go to dinner, and the mom's like, "Come on, just come with us."
It was like
you'll eat and have a good meal.
It was the Mexican-American War, I remember, and I forgot why it happened because you could not imagine having a war between Mexico and the U.S. now because we'd annihilate them, but there was a war. I remember we kicked their ass and we got the territories that became Arizona, New Mexico, all the stuff. And I remember Texas was either in that deal or they were independent. Then they came with us. Let's see. The Republic of Texas existed from March 2nd, 1836 to February 19th, 1846. So a full decade.
Wow.
So the Republic of Texas is just shy of being as old as your brother Daniel. Couple
That's
years.
Pretty insane.
Yeah. And it was bigger than Texas now. It had parts of Oklahoma, it looks like. So you can see the map there.
I do see the map.
Ooh, the disputed area is in light green.
I see.
Okay. They had 8 different capitals. Let me look at that. In 10 years, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam Houston, president. Love it.
Anyways.
Yeah, and then I think they fought in the Mexican War. I think that's what happened. Then Texas became a part of the America.
So Trump's just shopping around on different continents for the continents.
I mean, he might as well, right? I mean, how much can you buy Iceland for? It's like,
I don't know.
I want ice. You know what messes me up?
What?
Greenland has ice.
And Iceland
is
very
green.
I know. It's
Why?
wild.
Why? Why don't things make sense? Why can't we just name things the way they are? This happens in science all the time, too.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. But it's like...
Like what?
Well, I think it's... I don't even know, because I don't know what the proper terms are. I know it's like... But like Ben Franklin, for instance. You know, he's a big electricity guy. Mm-hmm. He named like the anode and the cathode, I believe. He named them wrong. He named them backwards.
Yes,
so
yep.
you have one type of thing, it's called the galvanic cell. That's one of them. And then the other thing is the other type of battery cell. And they're not the same thing. They're reversed.
Mm-hmm. Same with the North Pole and South Pole.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, Ben Franklin, you just made a mistake. But I feel like when there's, they name these things, and there's some people, like there's this whole process, for naming organisms and stuff, right?
Yes.
Now, there's probably there's probably 10 committees in the government that names these things, in the UN or whatever. Okay. Why don't we have committees for, just things? Like, can we just rename, Greenland, Iceland, and then Iceland, Greenland? And people will be like, there's an issue with that. No, there's not. One year I walked into class in elementary school and Pluto wasn't a planet anymore. It just wasn't. It got taken down. It got crossed out on people's things that the teachers that couldn't afford to buy a new wall paper thing showing that Pluto's not a planet. Right? Didn't that happen? That happened.
Yeah, it did.
It was 4th grade and they're like, Pluto's not a planet anymore. We're like, what? They're like, it's not a planet.
For some reason, I think we have other priorities that go beyond renaming Iceland to Greenland and Greenland to Iceland.
Buying Greenland.
Exactly.
That's our priority.
Once we buy it, we can rename it to whatever we want.
Have you seen the...
Trumpland.
Trump. No, they'll just build a giant hotel and call it the Trump Country Club or whatever. Did you... we didn't know about this till we went to Ann Arbor recently. Did you know... Or how... So you've watched... You love the OJ stuff. You're a big OJ...
I love the OJ trials. I don't love OJ, but I love I love the story, just to be clear.
Well, I mean, that you do have to clarify, because there were some women back then, obviously some men too.
Who fetishized his murderous...
I think the guys probably just came from, being football fans, but I mean, obviously, women were like, I'd fuck OJ. And it's like, excuse me? It's like, what did you just say?
That's back when a bunch of my classmates were like, Chris Brown, he's still cute. And then they'd be like, but he's abusive.
Because he beat up Rihanna?
Yes, he did.
Didn't they beat up each other? There was drama about that. Can you please explain? I don't know.
I don't want to misspeak because I don't remember everything exactly. But just looking back on the amount of injuries she received from him, this is not to downgrade Rihanna at all, but he beat the crap out of her. Mm-hmm. So even if she swung a couple punches, there's nothing close to what happened to her.
It's possible it was defense as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was that.
That is the definitive NBC News report right there.
There we go. You're welcome.
Did you watch that was the first crime, so FX, I didn't know this, FX, they're doing these trials, right, these crime kind of centered trials, so OJ was the first one, obviously, I mean, what a place to start, probably the most captivating trial in history, and obviously, I cannot believe, and it's really great, the actors.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The actors, how well they played these characters, the A-list actor in there is, John Travolta. With Botox, gotta say. You said he put Botox, he injected himself with Botox.
Well, he didn't do it himself.
Well, yeah. But he chose to have Botox injected into him by a professional.
They made him.
We need to look over his contract. But they did that because his character, you said, loved plastic surgery or something like that, correct?
Robert Shapiro, yes.
Robert Shapiro.
Yeah, back then, if you look at Robert Shapiro, he was always, I don't know if it was spray tan, it looked like it, very tan, very orangey, and you could not tell his emotion because he was so full of Botox. But that's what he did. He was a super successful lawyer, and he was loaded, so I mean...
And he looks like Max's regular face.
He does look like your brother's regular face.
Which is really terrifying. There's a picture we found of Max as a baby, and he's doing the John Travolta with Botox face.
Yes.
That's saying something. The actor, I don't know who it is, that plays Johnny Cochran, the DA, the woman who plays the DA is fantastic.
Courtney B. Vance as Johnny Cochran, then Sarah Paulson as Marcia Clark. And Sarah Paulson is incredible. She works with FX a lot.
Oh, does she?
And really, she's in, I don't think she's in all of the American Horror Stories, but she is in a lot of them. She's a very intense actress who's very versatile, but she's good at really emotional roles like she is in this one.
Yeah.
And she is going to be in the next trial, which is the impeachment trials.
Yes,
the story about Bill Clinton.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
Is it just my lack of actor knowledge outside of superheroes that I don't know a lot of the actors that played in these roles?
Kind of.
The guy that plays, I didn't see Friends, but the guy who plays Ross, isn't it? You said? Or whatever?
David Schwimmer?
Yeah, he plays Kardashian.
Yes, David Schwimmer has been around for quite a while.
Okay, sorry.
But he was just one of the leads.
If you're not in a Marvel movie, I don't know you.
Interesting.
I mean, there's been a lot in a Marvel movie. That's an expansive.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bridges. Who knows who Jeff Bridges is? I do.
That's good. Mm-hmm. But there is, as great as the MCU is, there's a lot more that the film industry has to offer, I think.
Certainly.
But no, they had some very good actors and actresses in that, like Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
He's incredible. He was in another one of the FX. I believe he was also in American Horror Story as well.
So who is the second one, right? Because that came out a couple years ago. There was one that came out that I have not seen, and I don't think there was a big deal made about it, but I'm assuming it was still good, because it seems like FX has a good setup to these.
I don't know if there's another one.
There might be. I don't know. Hold on. We're Googling. Stat Department's getting on it. The Stat Department doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen any other ones.
Okay. So you mentioned though they are coming out with a new crime series.
Yes.
Releasing next year. Mm-hmm. It is the Impeachment Trials.
It is the Impeachment Trials.
About Andrew Johnson. No, I'm kidding. That'd be the least interesting thing ever. Especially because he didn't get impeached. Do you know who Andrew Johnson is? Many people probably don't. He's the president after Abe Lincoln. After Abe Lincoln was, terminated.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I have an Abe
What are you doing to his
I have the Abe Lincoln
legacy.
quote right here in the studio.
Abe Lincoln
in my
was
room.
terminated.
I know.
I'm sorry, that was so gross.
Do you know what my Abe Lincoln quote is? I mean, you know, obviously, because you were there when I bought it. My Abe Lincoln quote is, the trouble with quotes on the internet is that you never know if they are genuine. Abe Lincoln.
And it's fooled quite a few people.
Not
to name any names.
It's gotten a lot of people. It's pretty funny.
But Damani Barnes asked if that was real.
It's a nice tin sign. Yeah, it's like, you got to make sure people understand. Okay, so there is a new crime trial. Anyway, Andrew Johnson, terrible president. Somehow they didn't get impeached, though. It'd be like a 10-minute thing, but like, you're a bad president. I know. Okay. That's it.
Good job.
Okay, the other president, then, to be impeached. That's the other thing. As a kid, when you said that the president could go and get impeached, I always thought impeached meant that's when you were removed from the job. But that's not. Impeached is even getting to the trial stage. That's impeached. Yes. But then getting removed from office is another step. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. And I don't know if that's just a me thing or if the American public also doesn't know that. Because it was always weird to me. It's like he wasn't impeached. Bill Clinton stayed as president. Mm-hmm. But he was. So there's some history there. There's some definitions there. Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay. So, anyway, American Crime Story.
Yes.
Bill Clinton.
Yes. So this is about the impeachment trials. In case anyone hasn't been alive for the past couple decades.
I mean, I feel like it's still something that gets brought up in class, hopefully in history class.
There's jokes on The Office, so it is still relevant.
There we go.
So, the impeachment trials with Bill Clinton are about the affair he had with his secretary, Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, boy. Isn't she producing it, too? She's on as a producer?
Yeah, she's helping produce it, which is hilarious. This is also featuring Sarah Paulson. I think she's the
same one that played the DA?
No. She's in the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She
was Marcia.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the...
Yeah, she's in OJ. Okay, so she's coming back.
Yes, she's coming back. I believe she is being the lawyer, which I don't remember her name because I'm terrible.
I don't know either.
Yeah, truthfully, I don't know how they're going to set this up. I'm really hoping they show shots of the... Oh my goodness. I'm hoping that they show the interactions of Bill, Monica, and Hillary.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the whole other thing.
I feel like this is going to go deeper into the emotions and the raw situations that actually happened. So regardless of the political views on the Clintons, I feel like this is going to be very emotional. Like, I am betting that we will see a lot of the devastation that Hillary went through. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we get to see some of the thought process that happened with Bill in this whole situation. Considering Monica Lewinsky is going to be helping produce this, it might be, I don't know how true this is going to be. I don't know if she's going to be amplifying things. Obviously, it's going to be theatrical, but I'm very curious as to see her statements after this is produced.
I mean, how can you amplify this, though? I feel like it is
I don't know. It's
already been the most since Watergate.
There's a possibility that she could make this more exaggerated, that she could falsify events that happened. Make
her like a ditzy intern that didn't know what was going on. Or
yeah,
something.
So I'm very curious as to see what will happen. And it could go the opposite way. It could show that she was the one going to go get him. Truthfully, I don't know too much about the specifics of everything.
Neither do I.
But I'm very interested. I want to see Monica and Hillary interact.
We know Bill has that... I didn't realize his voice, what it sounded like, because I didn't watch a lot of videos of him growing up. You know how sometimes, obviously we grew up with Obama as president for a large portion. I don't really remember Bush's press conferences, but I remember Obama. So, I know what they sound like, but, a Clinton, I didn't really know what he sounded like. And then, he'd talk, and I'm like, wow, that is some nice Southern charm right there. That is some nice Arkansas bred voice right there. That, I mean... Was Hillary in politics at this time already?
I don't believe so. I think that she was still just first lady-ing. So as much as she could do in that position, which is, I'm sure, a lot, but she was not the political figure that she is today.
Right, yeah. The woman who lost to Trump. Anyway, there is also another American crime story.
Yes.
It's the assassination of Gianni Versace.
Oh, that's right. And
that released last spring.
I didn't get to watch that.
I haven't seen it either. It did well at the Emmys.
Yeah, I know it's on Netflix.
Penelope Cruz, that's the only name I recognize here.
Penelope Cruz.
Penelope. Why is there an accent on the E? It's just I guess I shouldn't ask about people's names.
I don't know.
My name's a very white name, so.
Zachary Michael Schwartz.
It's the whitest German name you can get. Okay, so anyway, there's that. Just fact checking there. Thank you, Stats Department.
Yes. So that's very exciting. I'm very excited to see that.
So when is it releasing? This has been a hot topic point among the political parties here.
It said that the production started in late... Oh my gosh. Production is going to start February 2020.
Okay.
And it has set September 27th, 2020 for the release date.
So that's for the first episode. Meaning it'll keep going on for, probably 10 weeks then after that, correct?
Yes.
Roughly, if there's 10 episodes, 9 episodes. Uh-huh. So let's see. You said September, what day in September?
27th.
Okay, so then you have one there, then you have the 4 in October, and then so you're about halfway through by the time we have the presidential election, November 3rd.
So people are getting concerned that, I could be wrong, but we have consulted several Democrats about this coming out, and they are worried that the negative image of a Democratic president will impact the voters to vote Republican because of the story about the cheating Democratic president.
It's pretty central political person like myself. Do you feel their concern, or...
I say that I'm pretty in the middle as well, and I feel like the voters that are going to be The amount of voters is still pretty low, and I don't think people are going to just say, I'm going to vote because Bill Clinton was a jerk and I don't want another Bill Clinton. I understand the concerns, and I am not too worried. I'm not too concerned that they are going to have some trouble with voting blue because of an FX series. I think it'll be something that they can keep in mind, and obviously it's... It gives you an idea of who our past president was, but I don't think that should sway them away from who they want to vote.
And largely a story that's been closed. I mean, obviously there'll be more in-depth portrayals like you're saying, but in terms of the overall arching things, we all know what happened.
We all know what happened. And, I mean, he wasn't removed from office, so, I mean, he lost he won the Senate trial. So, I mean... I think... all parties are going to be like, yeah, this wasn't cool. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to make Republicans hate Democrats more, and I don't think it's going to make Democrats turn away from their political beliefs.
Well, I know I saw something when I looked it up, and there was like an op-ed or whatever in some newspaper that was talking. There's a Republican guy, and he's like, as always, Democrats just hate the truth. And it's like, pal... we already knew. Like, we've known this. That is why it is being put, like, FX made the OJ trials because we all know he was guilty. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we know Bill Clinton was guilty, but, like, we know they had an affair. Like, we know it wasn't the most ethical thing ever.
Yeah, and that's regardless of your party.
That's not new.
So I am not too worried that this will have any impact on the election. I think it would be kind of nice if it got some attention to the politics that happen in America. That sounded really stupid. So maybe it would, if people are entertained by this series, they will get more interested in becoming aware of the current political society. And then it would maybe encourage them to vote as well.
The current political society.
I know, I don't even think that was...
just arguing over Twitter.
You know how much we love that.
No, can't deal with it.
I don't like it either, but it always happens.
I know. I was going to say something else about this whole thing. Oh, I think if Democrats are really concerned about this, I think they should also write into Biden's camp and be like, hey, can you please get your speeches correct?
Yeah.
There was a speech a couple weeks ago, I think, a press conference where he said, we believe in truth, not facts.
Yeah, he slipped up a couple times. There was one speech, I don't know if it was a speech or an interview, but he was saying... I'm gonna look it up.
I wonder if there's like a compilation of them.
Oh my goodness. He was like, poor kids are just as smart as white kids. And then he tried to fix that by saying, and black kids, and Asian kids. But the way that he said that made it come across as, okay, so everyone there isn't a poor white kid.
Yeah.
Like, all of the poor people are minorities. And then he tried to quickly fix it, but it just did not play out in his favor there.
Of course, this is a Fox News guy that said this, but this is I just typed in Joe Biden mistakes. This is 14 hours ago. Mm-hmm. Fox News' Greg Gutfield said he is nervous for former VP Joe Biden's mental health incompetence. It's a little far. After the 2020 hopeful stumbled on the campaign trail when recalling the year that Senator Robert Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King were assassinated.
Oof.
Just, quote, just like in my generation when I got out of the school, when Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King had been assassinated in the 70s, and they'd say, well, I got engaged, up to that time, remember that. Okay, that doesn't make sense, but...
I'm not sure what that means.
Okay, in Iowa, because King and Kennedy were both murdered in 1968. I mean, that's... I think it's hard, though, because it's like...
I feel like you could have prepped better for that.
Ooh, can you tell a Joe Biden gaffe from a Donald Trump gaffe?
Oof.
Here we go. What is this here?
Quiz me.
Donald Trump quote, Joe is not playing with a full deck. Something's going wrong with him.
Oh.
It's not, okay.
Fighting words.
It's not funny to me because I'm a Republican and I'm a Trump guy, because I'm not. And I think I've made that clear on this podcast before. I just cannot believe that two, first of all, over 75-year-old men. Say what you want about their age running our country. I think I've spoken out about that before. These kind of things. So in high school, if I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're sitting there and you're going through a drama thing or whatever, and you're looking over at the kid, you're like, hey Billy over there, he's not playing with a full deck today. We're gonna murder him in this game we're playing. Whatever you're playing in like language arts, you're like, we're
flashcards.
We're gonna kill him in around the world flashcards today, in like Spanish or whatever. It's like this is the president, and I know like we've been desensitized to this, but like the fact that the president is arguing like a high school kid, like I make jokes like this, but they're jokes. I don't ever like, like just the way he talks. Like
you aren't running the most powerful country in the world.
No, and granted, I never want to. But like the sarcasm, like I always speak with sarcasm. He's being dead serious. Okay, hold on, let's keep reading the article now. Needless to say, the same argument has been made about the Republican president. Oh, Trump's 73, he's not 75, sorry.
Yeah, cut him some slack. The ripe young age of 73.
The president's supporters, meanwhile, insist Trump's words should be taken seriously, but not literally.
Okay.
That's like when I make a joke that crosses the line. I'm like, look, guys, it wasn't literal, okay? My bad.
I want you to pay attention to it.
My bad. Let's see. Ooh, here we go. Now they have a list. Did they give me a key? Oh my god, there's like 20 of them. Okay. Oh no, there's even more. Okay, we have a key. We have 29 of these. Ready? I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you.
Wow.
Who do you think it is? No, you have to guess. Biden or Trump?
Biden?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that. Well, I guess Trump would call himself the president.
I mean, I feel like if he says he is if Trump was up there at the press conference, it's like, the president has a big stick, and he turned his face slightly to look in the camera with the wink, I would be like, oh, okay.
He has said, my fingers are very long and beautiful.
Who says that? No one comes up like, girls will say fingernails. Look at my nails. My nails are nice. But no one, I feel like no one ever goes up to someone like on a Tinder date, is like,
check out my fingers.
Or like girls texting in her group text after the date, his fingers were so long and nice as he gripped that water cup.
Ew, stop.
See? Okay. If we do everything right, if we do it with absolute certainty, there's still a 30% chance we're going to get it wrong.
Is that Trump?
Let's see. No, that's Biden.
Ooh.
Okay.
We're neck and neck here.
I'll do one more so we can move on.
We should get together and go bowling.
I should tweet this article on the Assist so people can read this. This is great. And nobody knows what a community college is.
Trump?
Yep. Oh, you're pretty good. You can distinguish them. Maybe you should be a political scientist. You ever thought about that?
Oh, yeah. I think that's right up my alley.
What do political scientists even do?
I don't know, like study trends.
I guess. They're more like data people, I guess, now.
Statistician.
Like polls and stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like I like math, and I obviously like to analyze, sport matches, but like analyzing politics, especially if you lean one way, wouldn't that be depressing?
I suppose so.
Oh well.
Oh well. In another life.
Yeah, I guess so. You like Andrew Yang. Out of all the... okay, I know...
He's the one that I know the most about, I'd say.
You don't have a Yang sticker. Let's get that clear. Because I did see one the other day. A Yang 2020 sticker, which I didn't know.
I did see that.
But you out of all the nominees, just knowing a little bit about them, you think Yang's ideas are interesting?
I think a lot of the candidates' ideas are interesting. I took notice to him because he's, I don't know if he's the first, but he's at least one of the first Asian Americans to be running for president. Obviously, I wanted to see what he was interested in. And one of the things that the biggest thing that he's pushing for is called a Freedom Dividend, which is, the way that it would work is every citizen that is 18 or older would receive a check in the mail for $1,000 every month to pay for basic living expenses. And he based this thinking off of the fact that AI is taking so many jobs away from the American people, which is, I think it's interesting, but I don't know if I necessarily support this. Like you've said before, it's a decent idea, but not for today's society.
He's too early.
It's not like we have teacher robots taking the jobs of educators everywhere. So interesting concept, but I don't think it would work out because once everyone just starts getting checks in the mail, it'll be nice for a couple months, then the price of living will go up and all sorts of things that I don't really want to get into.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand the economic things of that.
Yes, so there's several candidates in the Democratic Party that are just kind of pushing for giving people more money. This one woman, her name is, I think it's Marianne, who is a Democrat, who is focusing on reparations
a
for...
candidate?
Yes.
Okay, I'll look her up.
She's fighting for reparations for African Americans who don't seem like they were influenced by the Civil War, not the Civil War. Slavery. And
wait, we're still on reparations?
Yes.
I thought that was just a Cards Against Humanity joke.
She believes that if you can go back in history and see that if these people weren't slaves, that their current descendants wouldn't be in such a hard financial position. She thinks that we should be making up for that by giving them, I'm not sure how much money or if it's a monthly thing or whatever.
Doesn't look like she's in the top 10 of candidates. So
those are the two that I know off the top of my head that have very specific ideas that they are pushing for very hard. I don't know if I agree with either of them. They both have very interesting tactics, but something that we should keep on looking at. There are just a lot of candidates right now.
Yeah, and I feel like to stand out, they just got to keep going left and more left and more left. And then when you have a general election, I mean, the word general, lead you to believe, a lot of people, if you're going to get a traditional Republican to vote for a Democrat, I mean, you got to be more central. That's kind of generally how it works. But the whole gang thing, I agree with you. I think there's certainly... I think I've heard it also, I know he's calling it the Freedom Dividend. I think I've heard it more as like a universal basic income as well, the same kind of concept. If you were to ask me, eventually, will we have a universal basic income? Yeah. I think that'll definitely happen in the future. I know we've had a lot of automation, certainly in our jobs. And I know, everyone's been worried about machines taking over for... over all these basic jobs, stuff like that. But like for instance, in, car manufacturers and stuff like that, machines have come in and we've adjusted. We have a pretty low unemployment rate, if I'm correct,
I believe so.
in the country. So, this proposed revolution hasn't really revolutionized anything. It's just evolved the jobs a little bit more.
Precisely.
However, it seems like we're getting very close to a true revolution. So I'm not sure how close is relative to we've been around for how long? Humans have for thousands of years. So I'm not saying like 10 years. Yes. I would think it's conceivable to happen in our lifetime. I think we will have, I guess, what we term normal life with most jobs. But I think certainly at some point, this type of thing will be needed to just allow people to live, and also, if robots are doing everything, people can do more things and be more creative with stuff, whatever your creativity is, whether it's, math, working on just some experiments for science, or doing the traditional, quote-unquote, form of creativity with art. So I think Yang's just a futurist, which is cool. Futurists are cool, and obviously, I would term Elon Musk a futurist, That's cool, and they obviously shape a lot of society, but, like, in terms of our president, it's tough to have a futurist when you have so many things going on day-to-day basis and so many other relations to work on.
I agree.
So, people are really talking about reparations, though?
Yeah.
I don't want to, minimize anything that happened, obviously. I'm one of the people that when, people will be like, oh, we've always treated whatever people or whatever with that. I will make colonizing jokes, and I will mention how, in people don't know, in the gold rush of the 1840s, we put, Chinese immigrants in caves and just said, TNT, oops.
Yeah.
They were searching for gold. So, we have a very not good past of dealing with and, coexisting with minorities in this country. I think it's gotten better. Obviously, we have a ways to go.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten better. But so I thought, I know there's been some kind of thing, I guess, reparations for, like Native Americans. Some certain tribes that have been completely displaced or taken over or stuff. I'm not sure the exact details on that, but I feel like it's in Florida. So
I'm not sure.
Did you know there's a Dave Chappelle skit about reparations? He plays a news actor.
That would not surprise me.
That was what? That had to be 12 years ago or something like that? 12, 13, 14 years ago?
Yeah.
Anyone's a Dave Chappelle fan. You're talking to one. Or you're listening to one. Hopefully you're not talking out loud. Randomly to your headphones. But, wow.
Wow, indeed.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a weird time for everything.
Yeah?
Like, truly, if you sit back, like you're sitting on your porch or whatever, you're looking out into the sunset.
Beautiful.
And you're like, this is a weird time. I feel like this is probably, if not, the weirdest time. It has to be one of the weirdest times in our history.
How so?
There's so much tension among everything. There's no war. We've gotten past the point of Facebook being like, oh, you can instantly connect to people all around the world and stay in touch. We're like, yeah, this is great. And now we're all looking at each other like, this is actually not as good as we thought it was going to be. But none of us are logging off.
True.
We're at this point where we're, the novelty of an iPhone is lost.
It's more of a necessity.
Yeah, but we're not necessarily, people, like the thing Elon Musk talks about as being a neural link where you get an implant and you have the internet in your brain.
Oh, yikes.
So that's like the future talk about it. But we're still here with like this device that, in terms of biological things, is technically just an extension of yourself, but it's not physical extension. So, like, if there's the whole tech thing, the way we live is changing. Obviously, the climate is a big thing right now. It's a weird time for that because we're the first time in history we're aware of what we're doing. We're almost all aware of what we're doing now as humans, not just ourselves, but like other people around the world. Like, if something happens in Mozambique in Africa, first of all, I think a lot of people 100, 200 years ago didn't know Mozambique existed. Yeah. Or that the land that became Mozambique, whatever, if it was a colony. Don't fact check me, French historians. But like, if something happens there, like either an accident or, some terrible terrorist thing or something like that, we will know about it like that. Or someone will tweet about it or be on the news, you'll get a notification, something like that. It used to be a much more local thing. And so we're all so aware of what other humans are doing, and the exchanging of ideas is so high, it's almost like we're overwhelmed.
Well, yeah, but along with that comes selective acknowledgement that they're happening. Like when when Notre Dame, when all of that happened, the fire happened, everyone paid attention to it. Everyone who visited there, everyone who cares about the culture and history of it, it was constant newsfeed that we would be able to see. But when there's things like Syria or the Amazon that's on fire right now, it's kind of...
The Amazon's on fire?
Exactly. See?
In Brazil?
In Brazil.
Oh, my.
So it's been... I don't know all the details because I am awful. But there's a really bad fire that's just raging in Brazil in the forests there. And there is not a lot of coverage on that at all. So, to piggyback off of what you're saying, we have access to seeing what's happening all over the world, but it's just kind of, it's important depending on where you are and what you decide to pay attention to and who cares about what, unfortunately.
Is it a natural fire, or is it one started by a campfire or something like that? Do you know?
I think it's a natural fire.
Well, I wouldn't say it's good, but part of the stuff about controlling fire, because fire is so terrible, to our man-made things, is that fire is a very natural process. It's how the forest, resets and new things can come in and grow and stuff like that. It's a very natural kind of thing.
It's natural, but it's also an effect it's because
of climate.
Of the climate. Because it's been burning for almost 3 weeks straight now. And,
right.
From this article, it says that according to Brazil's National Institute for Space Research, satellites have detected 39,194 fires just in 2019.
Wow.
So that's more than a 77% increase from last year.
That's very high.
So this is destroying people's homes and, of course, wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
So...
obviously all the fires in California this past year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a severe weather uptick.
Yeah, and unfortunately when this happens, these rainforests, these vast areas of agriculture, they produce a lot of oxygen, a lot of clean air.
Yep.
And when they're getting destroyed, we have less clean air, obviously.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that is generally how the cycle works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird time.
It is.
But I think we're getting better. I think we're in the process, of getting aware, and then I know a lot of people are changing things, and I think finally at the top levels we're seeing some change among other nations.
We are getting there. Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. Just in time.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to plug? You got anything going on?
I'm good.
You got a website for your art yet?
I do not.
To sell?
I do not.
When's that coming?
I don't intend on making one.
kdart.com.
Yeah, that's perfect.
kdart.edu. It's an educational website.
Perfect.
There you go. Okay. Katie, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
To the pod. Okay.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Assist podcast. If you like the show, go drop a 5-star rating. That really helps us keep the show going. If you want to stay updated with all of the podcast episodes, hit the subscribe button, and also go follow our Twitter, which is @assist_podcast, and our Instagram, which is now the Assist Podcast. And you can write any emails, any suggestions you have to theassistpod@yahoo.com, and we'll see you next week. If you want to stay updated with all of the podcast episodes, hit the subscribe button, and also go follow our Twitter, which is @assist_podcast, and our Instagram, which is now the Assist Podcast. And you can write any emails, any suggestions you have to theassistpod@yahoo.com, and we'll see you next week.